All right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. Our vintage Brunello tasting, an annual event here. Hey, why the hell not? This is why I got this job, so I could drink the world's greatest wines and then tell you, our wine drinking people, just how they're showing. You know, how would you know that the 93 Pieve di Santa Restituta Sugarilla Brunello was still drinking fantastically unless we had it and told you about it? And hey, you know, we have a few bottles left. We sold quite a bit this evening, and the old dogs really showed why you want to keep Brunello in a great vintage, even a not so great vintage. 93 was just an okay vintage, but a great producer for 10 or 15 years past the vintage, because these wines really starting to hit their peak right now. That 93 Pieve di Santa Restituta wine got 5 votes for first place, which is as many as any wine got, but you know, the 01 San Filippo got 5 first and 5 second, making it the wine of the night. But I'll tell you, for the money, this wine, the new release on the Pieve di Santa Restituta wine, is $200 a bottle. You can buy the 93, which is drinking at its peak right now. It'll probably continue to hold for another 3 to 5, who knows, maybe 10 years. But this is one of the greatest vineyard sites in Montalcino. When Angelo Gaia went to this part of Italy to buy vineyards, he went to the best vineyard owner there, Gianfranco Soldera, and said, I want to buy your vineyard. He said, no, I don't want to sell. So the vineyard right next door, Sugarrill, he did find someone they wanted to sell. In 93, he didn't have total control over the winery yet. He sealed the deal in 95, but he was marketing it and putting his 2 cents in on how it should be produced. This wine showing some lovely evolution on the nose, some dried meats, dark spices, dried porcini mushrooms, light red berry fruit still present though, and on the tongue, wonderful balance, silky tannins, really still lovely freshness here, and showing some nice red berry fruit here at its peak right now, but still should continue to last another 5-10 years, who knows, maybe even longer. This wine's still nice on the second day, the next morning. The 95 Canalicchio di Sopra Reserva. This is a great vintage, a 5-star vintage according to the Gambero Rosso. An array of fresh earth here with sage, porcini, dried cherry, fig, red plum, really nice dried rose petals and black tar. Really classic Brunello here. And on the palate, this wine still has got some legs. It is got some tannins, and I would guess, you know, another 10 years in your cellar at least before this one starts to go down. Maybe 30 plus years. You know, I had the 81 vintage a few years back. That's not considered a good vintage at all. Maybe a 2-star vintage. And the wine was still drinking fantastically. So, I mean, who knows? Like I said, this wine got 3 votes for first place and a vote for second. Most excellent juice at its price. I got 1 of my votes. The Bionda-Santi 96. This wine, not a great vintage, but a great producer. Bionda-Santi being the original guy making Brunello famous back over 100 years ago. This wine had a little steak note to it, to that light red cherry fruit, soft tannins, red licorice spice, dried rose petals. Really classic Brunello, but a lighter vintage. You could just tell. Drink this wine up. Got no votes for first or second place, but there was a lot of competition on the table here. The 97 Canalicchio di Sopra Normale. This is was touted as a great vintage, and it is. You know, this is a wine that's very balanced, very soft. It's got some nice incense spice and dried floral notes. Fairly evolved wine. Some nice earthy notes coming out also on the second day. Black truffle and tar. Really nice complexity, but I would drink your 97s sooner rather than later. I think they're just delicious right now. They'll probably hold for another 10, maybe 20 years, classic producers like this, but I don't know why you'd want to wait. Excellent juice, the 97, although no votes for first or second place. Maybe I forgot to write that down. Anyways, the 1998 Pietranera, one of the part of the Centellani group. 98, a vintage that always drank nicely, you know, even from the time it was released. But this is a really nice classic style of Brunello. Dried porcini mushroom, black tar, flowers, some dried meat notes on the nose. Still a little bit of fruit, but most of the earth now starting to dominate in this wine. A lovely silky smooth texture to it on the tongue, and a bit on the light side, but still nice nuance in this wine. At its peak right now. Drink it up. A silky velvety texture on the finish. Excellent juice. The wine of the night, almost, I don't say unanimously, because it got 5 first place votes, 5 second place votes, but a lot of people liked it either best or second best. The 2001 San Filippo Le Coste Reserva. This wine, classic Brunello nose, porcini mushroom, black spices, saddle leather, black cherry, wild strawberry, figs, and really complex bouquet, and just really soft and velvety on the tongue. This wine had a lot of fruit to it, though, a lot of concentration. This 2001 vintage, very rich, and that tar and dried floral note there on the finish as well. And definitely the wine of the night based on the scorecards. The 03 Valdicava, very hot year. This is an atypical vintage for Brunello, and this was the year everybody got busted putting Cabernet in their Sangiovese, and Vincenzo doesn't have any Cabernet, so he couldn't have done that. This wine has a lot of tannin still in it, a lot of fruit. Definitely needs a little bit of time, starting to come around, but you know, maybe not the greatest vintage of Valdicava. I lowered my score on this wine a little bit after tasting it, but still an excellent bottle of Brunello. The 04 Castello Romatorio, one of my votes for wine of the night went with this wine because this wine's got a load of potential. 04, an outstanding vintage. This wine's got incredible bouquet, exotic spices, pretty floral notes, lots of ripe, seductive black cherry and wild strawberry-like fruits, and very big on the tongue still. A lot of tannins, but a lot of fruit, a lot of acid, just a lot of everything. This wine needs time, but has all the right stuff. Killer juice, and you know you're going to get extra when you come to a Wine Watch event. In addition to the Ossobuco being outrageous, we finished off with one of my favorite sweet wines, the Felsina Vinsanto, the wine of saints, and this is a dessert wine, and it's a little ambiguous. You know, it can be made with different varietals and in different regions, but when you see Chianti Classico on the label, it is Sangiovese, and Felsina makes one of the greatest values in this dessert wine. A lovely nutty character to it, honeyed. These are dry grapes, and they're aged in barrique for like 5 or 6 years. Just amazing to think they can sell this wine at around $45. That's what we had to drink at our vintage Brunello tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lamposoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.